yes, what is coding used for? Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are thinking, oh, coding is basically used to solve a lot of problems in the world right now. For example, we have a lot of, for example, if you want to give everybody certain information, like for example, how many people have been infected by COVID-19? Coding is a very useful way to basically build applications that people can then use to basically solve the problems. So again, back to the problem that I just gave out, you would have basically maybe a COVID-19 tracker where it basically gathers a bunch of statistics and compiles them into a user-friendly mode. But there's also other aspects of code that I think are really cool. For example, coding can be used to create art, and I'll show an example right here. So right here, I have basically a CodePen project open up, and if I refresh it, you guys will see that it draws these rings of concentric circles with a little ring inside of each of them. And I don't know, for me, it's just a very cool visual. And there's also other aspects of coding, like for example, you can make a Black Panther mask using HTML and CSS. And you can also make really cool effects too, such as this, using just pure JavaScript as well. And of course, this is just not limited to JavaScript. This can be basically implemented on a lot of programming languages, but JavaScript is what I'm going to be teaching in this course. So back to the presentation. So basically, I'm going to now cover the syllabus for this class. So I will also be sending out a link to everyone in a follow-up email. So basically, what this course will cover is the fundamentals of JavaScript, which is one of the most popular and flexible programming languages on the internet. Jay, I see a question in the chat. How long is this class? Are you talking about like how long is each class, or? Yeah, because Jane said an hour. Yes, that's correct. Each class will be an hour. If you're talking about the total number of classes, it will be somewhere around the range of 20. I will check the number again on and I will send also attach the information after the class. So basically,
sorry about that. We do have the Q&A part after.
Oh, the Q&A, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, students will be tasked to complete various coding challenges and projects that will basically look to improve their programming skills, as well as allowing them to show their creative side. So in this course, you'll basically be able to read and write code in JavaScript syntax and gain a solid understanding of important general programming topics. These topics are basically used across all programming languages. They are basically just like the foundation for programming. So this includes variables, functions, arrays, these sort of things. But then here's the fun part. JavaScript is basically tied down to the field of web application, where basically if you want to design a web page, JavaScript is your go-to language to build that web page. And this is actually in conjunction with HTML and CSS. But if you want to make your page basically seem more alive, like for example, if you click a button, then the page will respond in some way. That's basically what JavaScript does. And if we take advantage of that property, we are basically able to do all sorts of things, such as design interactive games and creative web pages. Furthermore, you can also solve programming problems in JavaScript. For example, in LeetCode, there's a lot of programming problems. Like, for example, if given a string, you have basically a long string, and you have to find the longest palindrome in that string. And how would you approach that problem? And JavaScript is just one of the languages you can do that in. You can also use the HTML canvas, which ties into JavaScript very well. And what that allows is basically allow you to create a lot of awesome visuals, and also it's also widely used in creating interactive games as well. And then, as I said before, JavaScript can be used to manipulate an HTML page. So for the text materials and supplies, all we really need is for students to have is a laptop and a CodePen account. I'll explain how to create a CodePen account later, and I'll also have instructions attached in a follow-up email. So then for assignments and homework, I will be basically handing out projects and code problems on a weekly basis that basically tie into the lesson that I am teaching during that week. So it could be about variables, it could be about functions, those sort of things. And then overall, there will be basically an overarching project where basically students will have the chance to show off what they have learned so far, including like the creative side as well. They have a lot of freedom. They will have a lot of freedom regarding that final project. And this should be developed over the sequence of multiple weeks. If that the final project should not be basically like done in like the final week or so. I think it should be a continuous progression. So then I will also be available to answer any questions students might have when completing such tasks. And the deadline that I'm going to set for project and code problems to be turned in is no later than 2 weeks after the material has been handed out. So basically, if I were to assign a homework on Saturday of this week, then it would be next Saturday. That's the final deadline where the homework is due. So attendance and participation. If a student will be missing class due to schedule conflict, just contact the instructor ahead of time to receive the necessary materials. Of course, if for some reason there is something that prevents you from notifying me ahead of time, you are always feel free to just email me at any time and ask for a certain week's materials. And also, students, as always, are encouraged to participate in discussions and ask questions throughout class. So now I'll be diving in more in depth to the curriculum that I'm going to be basically following along. So during the first class, we're basically just going to be talking about JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and how they basically play into the world, and how is basically JavaScript, how JavaScript basically works, how you're typing a line of code, and how does the computer basically understand what to do afterwards. And then I will be designating a couple more classes along with the respective projects to basically to students. And this will be just be covering basic programming concepts as well as the corresponding projects as well. So this is just for the basic class. The basic class will also cover the HTML canvas part, which I think is very important because basically allows you to have a lot of visual interactions with JavaScript. You can create certain elements such as rectangles, squares, circles, and from those images you can basically create a whole lot more things, such as a calculator or like a Flappy Bird game. So that's going to be in the first part of the class. In the second part of the class, I'll be covering a more advanced topic with basically a focus on JavaScript inside web development. And what this will include is basically how basically JavaScript interacts with the HTML page. Aimbot and Crunker. Well, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I love Crunker.
Crunker. Wow. Okay. Seems like everybody is very interested in aimbots, I suppose.
Aimbot, wall hack.
Yeah. I know what you're talking
those
about.
kind of things.
Those kind of things. Well, this basically ties into a different aspect. Of course, it's very complicated because the way you basically create AutoClicker is also easy to implement. You just have to write a separate program. But for hacking into an online game, I don't think JavaScript would necessarily be the best language. It might be better to actually run an external script because often they have methods to prevent users from interfering with the online web page. But that's definitely a topic we can dive into. Perhaps if we have the time to do so, we can indeed investigate whether it is possible to create a wall hack client or a aimbot in whatever game you want to choose. Of course, it will have to be online since JavaScript is basically a online web page. Okay, got a little off topic there, but thank you for that nice question. And Henry, Minecraft is made in Java. Yes, this is true. However, Java and JavaScript are actually very different. Yes, as Han said, Java and JavaScript, there is a very big difference between them. Although the names are very similar and the syntax can be seen as very similar, you will not be able to use a JavaScript hack to basically hack into a language such as a game based on Java. That is just too difficult to. It's not too difficult. I don't think it's even possible to do. So yeah, basically in the second class, we'll be covering more of the web development. This goes into stuff like REST APIs, which is basically the way you connect to a server on the internet. And you will also basically be able to manipulate the DOM, which stands for document object model, which is basically what all HTML pages have to basically allow you to manipulate it with. So yeah, that's basically what I'm going to be covering in the course. If you have any questions regarding this, we'll leave this to the end of class. So then what tools we'll be using? So all of our coding assignments and projects will be done in CodePen, which is basically it's basically an online code compiler. And basically what this allows you is you can manipulate the HTML side, the CSS side, and the JavaScript side. So as you guys can see here, let's get a little bit ahead of myself here. Let me first show you guys how to create a CodePen account. Let me log out of my current account right now. So I'm going to just basically click on login. And then I will click on, if you're a new user, you would click on sign up and then click on sign up with email. And then you would enter in the corresponding information. I'm gonna need everybody's username at some point because this is basically how you guys are going to be turning in your homework. And once you have filled all of this information out, you are going to then basically go to your email, confirm your email, and then you have the account basically set up at that point. Nothing else needed. So yeah, that's basically what the CodePen will look like. And then let's go into my account right now. Show you guys a couple more features of CodePen. So CodePen has two different types of ways you can create projects. They have something called pens, which is basically a tiny little project. There's only just one file where you have you can manipulate the HTML, the CSS, and the JavaScript. Only those three options. A project, on the other hand, you'll be able to basically create multiple files. So you have a HTML file, a CSS file, and a JavaScript file, or multiple JavaScript files, however you want to structure it. And what this basically allows you right now is, did someone ask, do we create CodePen right now? You can create it. You don't have to create it right now. Do it whenever you have time to do so. But of course, the earlier the better. And
so it's impossible to do aimbot in this.
To be honest, I'm not sure. It's a very creative way to basically make use of a coding language. We can.
I want aimbot.
Yeah, I might start doing research that because that actually sounds pretty cool. But yeah, I'll have to answer that question at a later time because I honestly don't know right now. I've never used it for such a purpose. So basically, you guys should treat this as a demo class right now. So think of this as like the very first class. Of course, I'm going to be going into a much deeper level than right now, but just treat this as basically like the first class. So what is JavaScript? Now, JavaScript is a programming language designed to make web pages alive.
Now we know.
And this allows you to build user interfaces that are designed to be interactive, meaning you click a button, the page should respond in some way. And then functions can be expanded to set up web servers, which I'll cover in later. And also, it can also be used to build browser games. Okay, next page. So what can JavaScript do? So it can add new HTML to the page and change the existing content. It can react to user actions, run on mouse clicks, pointer movements, key presses. So this comes into, I guess, the crunker idea, right? When you press, you can basically adjust where your mouse is aiming at, where if you press a certain key, what should happen.
Will you play crunker?
Huh?
Will you play crunker?
Maybe. So you can also send requests over the network to remote servers. you can also download and upload files using text such as Ajax and Comet. And I'm sure you guys have heard of cookies. These are basically just information trackers. This allows you to just basically save some information, like for example, your username and password for a certain website. And it also can save data on the client side, which stands for local storage. So what can't JavaScript do? I know this is a lot of text right now, but bear with me here. So what can't JavaScript do? You basically cannot read/write arbitrary files on the hard disk. Now, for people who are more familiar with the structure of a computer, you will know that you have the hard drive, which is basically the permanent memory. It contains files, Word documents that you want to save, the operating system, which basically allows you to control, which basically dictates the computer's controls. And it also saves a lot of important files. And if you mess up those files, you can have a really good shot of basically corrupting your entire computer. But, however, by basically having JavaScript not able to write to the hard disk, it basically stops hackers or people with malicious intent from affecting your computer. So if you open up a web page, it should never, ever be able to have affect the hard disk. Do I know the Roblox teacher? Are you talking about Yixing? Okay, yeah, just tell me your response later. Okay, so different tabs/windows also do not generally know about each other. So if I had a Gmail and a Facebook page open, these two sites should not be able to connect. And JavaScript can also easily communicate over the net to the server where the current page came from. However, its ability to receive data from other sites is crippled because that's basically, again, potentially releasing private information. Now, where is JavaScript executed? Now, JavaScript basically, so when you type in a line of code, that line of code basically is sent to the JavaScript virtual machine. And the JavaScript virtual machine basically interprets that syntax, and then it doesn't translate it into computer directions, but rather it directly executes them. So in Chrome, we have JavaScript V8. In another browser, we have Chocolate Core. In Firefox, we have SpiderMonkey. And basically, these are all just implemented across.
No, like the other clothing.
Sorry, it might be a little noisy. So, I think I still hear something. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. You're being very helpful. So yes, basically, if I write a line of code, it's executed by the JavaScript virtual machine. And across all browsers, they have their own version of JavaScript virtual machine to allow for to allow you to execute JavaScript code. So I hope that's pretty clear. So then this dives into a little deeper on the JavaScript engine. So you have the JavaScript source code, which is basically like, for example, console.log hello world. It's very understandable English. Then you have to go to the compiler, which then basically compiles the code into machine readable instructions, which is called bytecode. And this is then converted once again to the JIT compiler, which it compiles it a second time into the native code, which then is directly executed on the CPU. So as you can see, it's quite a complicated process. Don't bother remembering this. All you need to know is that whatever you write in JavaScript, the JavaScript engine is basically what allows a computer to run your instructions. So running JavaScript in the browser. Now, as I said before, the JavaScript virtual machine is basically existing on virtually all browsers, including Chrome, which is the one that I'm using right now. So to run JavaScript on a browser, I'll just give you guys an example right here. If I go to Google and I go right here, let me just close this console. That was a console that I'm going to open it up right now. If I hit right click and hit inspect, you'll see the HTML page source here right now. This is basically what is displaying on this page right now. However, to access the JavaScript and give it certain commands, I go to console. And this console is basically a place where I can execute JavaScript instructions, such as console.log hello world. And if I printed it out, you see that the console, which is what I clicked on before, had logged basically hello world. Now, let me just quickly check the chat. Okay, perfect. So, and there's also a lot more JavaScript commands such as event handlers and other sorts of things, but we'll cover those throughout the class. Okay. So now I'm going to cover some basic JavaScript syntax and commands. I think these are basically like the most fundamental commands that people should know because they are just very basic. It's basically the print statement for basically all code, for all coding languages. So there are 3 ways you can actually do this. You can do console.log, you can do prompt, and then you can do alert. So if I escape, if I do console.log has hello world, as you guys can see in the previous line that I just wrote, hello world, don't misspell it. You see I can get hello world. Now let's see what happens if I type in prompt. You'll see that it's a different format. This time I can actually enter in something. And if I set a variable equal to this prompt, so let's do let a variable a is equal to, oh, actually, let me give it a more distinct name because it's likely that Google is already using the variable a. So I do not want to disturb that. So I'm going to give it a very long string. For example, Bay Coding Club. Hello. First, I want you to name your variables this long. Should be something more memorable. I'm only doing this because Chrome might have used a variable a. So let's go. If I type in hello, and I check the Bay Coding Club variable, you see that it's stored. It has basically stored the result Bay Coding Club variable. Now, basically the last one is just alert, hello world. And as you guys can see, you can it's basically the same like format of text. It's like a little text box at the top, and it basically alerts you and says whatever message that you want to alert the user of. So now you go into commenting in JavaScript. Again, very basic information. You'll basically have a single line comment and a multi-line comment, which is basically 2 forward slashes. And this basically stops the code from running. So I should have mentioned at the very beginning of class that a strongly recommended prerequisite is basically an understanding of HTML and CSS. However, feel free to come into class even without understanding. It's just that I'm going to be hosting a couple, thanks Hans. Yeah, that's how you write a comment in JavaScript. So basically, again, yeah, as I said before, it's strongly recommended to have HTML and CSS like skills under your belt.
Well, sorry, I don't have CSS and HTML skills.
However, if you don't have it, I will be hosting a couple extra classes.
If you don't have it,
and to basically cover like the fundamentals of those 2 languages, and then so you have basically a better background as you enter into the class. So then basically I have 2 very basic projects here. You guys can basically try them out right now after I basically finish up the rest of the class. So I just wanted to show you guys again what some of the cool aspects of JavaScript is, basically the capabilities of JavaScript. So here I have a little like Flappy Bird demo, and let's go view it in the editor. So basically, it is basically a little game. I'm sure, hopefully, all of you know what Flappy Bird is. And as you guys can see, let me restart because I haven't implemented the code function to restart it yet. But basically, you can see that I'm controlling with my spacebar, and it allows me to basically play a Flappy Bird game. And if you guys see the code right here, this is all just using JavaScript and yeah, I know it's very. Maybe I should perhaps increase the minimum width per pipe. But as you guys can see, oh no, don't treat it as impossible. But again, this is just, I think, a good demonstration of the capabilities of JavaScript with Canvas. You can basically have like a lot of effects. You can basically also have moving elements and changing colors. And that's basically just basically like an example of something you're going to do in this class. One of the tasks that I might give you. I'll have basically a variety of projects for students to choose from, and they can also add their own personal flair here. So for example, if you didn't want this to be a square or instead of a bird, I would presumably teach you how to do that. So yeah, okay. So again, this is just an example project that I have here. It's Project Hello World. You would basically print out Hello World on the console of JavaScript, and it was just basically through the method that I did through before, where I basically just right-click, click on Inspect to access the console. And then here, the second project is the same idea. This time, instead of using console.log, you would use alert. So it's just basically a different format. So yeah, I think that covers it about everything. So I guess I can start the Q&A, albeit a little bit early. Okay, so yeah, Jane.
Yeah. If anyone has question, please ask.
Okay, so with the inspect thingy,
Yeah.
When I right click and it says inspect, it only says inspect, not anything else. And when I click it, it shows me like a bunch of different types of things.
Types of things? Yeah. So can you see my screen right now? Does it look something like this to your right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically to access, you can basically ignore all of that chunk of information right now. If you see how it says element at the very top of that bar that just popped out, you would want to click on the section that says console, and then this basically takes you to a JavaScript virtual machine where you can basically input commands as I showed you before. So can you get there for me? Just let me know if you have any troubles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this a cookie associated with a cross-site resource that your URL was set without the same site attribute?
Yeah. So basically, that's basically, sometimes websites tend to log information. So for example, let me go to, this is actually a website that I built. And this it's just display some information that's not relevant for you, for guys of your age. And so I'm going to just quickly search up something. So if I hit inspect, you'll see that a whole bunch of information is logged there. You can just ignore that for now. And yes, you see, I also have a similar message. A cookie associated with cross-site resource. This is just irrelevant information.
No,
All you need to care about is the next line, the line with like a little arrow here. And this is basically a place where you can type in the commands that I showed you from before.
But it also says fail to load resource.
Fail to load resource? That means there's an error on the side of Chrome. That basically means that I failed to load some JavaScript script or an image or something like that. Anyways, it shouldn't concern you. You don't have to mind. You don't have to worry about the functionality of the web page. All you need to care about is basically understand that each browser has a console where you can interact with. So if I go to the very bottom below all of those error messages, then I would type in alert hello, and then it would alert hello. So yeah. Also, one more thing to mention, someone brought up a very good question. Can I use another JavaScript editor? Of course, feel free to. Again, CodePen is just going to be the way that you guys are submitting assignments, but feel completely free to use VS Code. I don't know what other JavaScript editors are there. Vim maybe. But yeah, those are all options for you guys to use. I just need CodePen to basically keep track of the guys' assignments. Oh, Han's already being very ambitious here with the hack client. Good luck with that. I will definitely try to help you out with that as much as possible. So then, any other questions?
Hey, Lauren, can you repeat again for the prerequisites?
The prerequisites, right? Okay. So again, the prerequisites are I strongly recommend for some experience in HTML and CSS. Again, Bay Clothing Club has a HTML and CSS course that you guys can choose to take. However, if you don't come in with that experience, that is also fine. I'm just going to be spending a couple more classes to you guys are going to need some extra classes to basically understand the fundamentals. Don't dive in too deep because the way I'm going to be using HTML and CSS in this course, it will not be too complicated.
And how about the length of the courses and what kind of levels you're going to cover?
Right. So this is basically in the curriculum. So I have basically two different levels. One that basically covers the basics of JavaScript syntax, so you should get a good understanding of how to use JavaScript, how to basically write programs in JavaScript. And this also touches into the HTML canvas. Now, basically, I can say for sure that the first level of the course will not require HTML and CSS skills. The only way we're going to use those is to basically create a canvas, and this is just very basic code. We are not going to manipulate much on the HTML and CSS side. On the other hand, once you get to the second level of the course, where basically we're looking more deeply into the web development aspect of JavaScript, that's when HTML and CSS is much more necessary, because then you will have to learn how basically JavaScript interacts with certain elements, how to grab them and basically change their state, and that sort of thing. So yeah, and also on each course, we're looking at about 10 classes on each level. This might vary depending on the progress of the overall, class.
Okay, and can you explain if they learn all the levels follow with you, in the end, what kind of project, or in the end, could they do some of the website that they can do?
Yeah, it's definitely very possible. I would say that if you guys once you guys have finished this course, or both levels, of course, you will definitely be able to build a website like this. Of course, this is just boring municipal data. Nobody really cares about it, But again, as shown before, this in CodePen, there's a lot of creative applications that you can apply here. So you have you can build a Flappy Bird game and host it on a website. You can also build cool art generators, or possibly I have a friend who even built a music generator using code in JavaScript, and that was a very cool project that I thought was really cool.
Okay, thank you. And anyone has any question to ask your teacher, Lauren? Hello?
All right.
You can unmute yourself and you can ask the questions.
Hi, I have a question. So,
okay.
How long, for each week's assignment, how long do you expect students need to spend the time?
I would expect it to get done in 1 week. Again, I don't want to stress on the workload too much, but again, I think hands-on experience is very important. So again, it should take students approximately 1 week to finish one project. But as I said before, the deadline is 2 weeks after. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I'm a college student. My classes have already started. So I know that people are going to be busy with school. So again, I'm going to, and I'll be very understanding of people's situations. If for some reason you aren't able to turn in a project even after the deadline, then that is all right. I'll basically be helping you out throughout along the way. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you. Is that okay for answer your question? Any other questions for other people?
I have one.
Okay, go ahead.
This is just a random question.
I
Mhm.
guess.
Go ahead.
Not about coding at all.
That's fine. Yeah.
What college did you get into?
Oh, I got into UMass Amherst, which, not to brag or anything, but it's the top 20 in computer science programs. So I must say I'm very happy to basically attend that college right now. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, thanks.
Yeah, Lauren, yeah, I do got a question from the parents asking
Mhm.
me the other day. So that parents have 8th grade grader, and she asked me how the 8th grader could prepare for the computer science major, even before grade 8 or before enter into the university. So what do you do? What do you do for preparation for a computer science major?
Okay, so yeah, this sounds like something that I would
Yeah,
get
this is
asked.
a big
Like a college
question,
tomato.
but you can answer some.
Yeah.
first.
Okay. So two things that I think are most important is personal projects and basically learning as much as you can, but not too broad, because if you go too broad, you're going to get overwhelmed. If you decide to just like try to learn every single language, it's not going to help basically center your specialization. So again, I would recommend just learning like maybe like 1 to 3 languages, like that's your primary focus on. Maybe 5 languages you are familiar with, but your primary focus should be developing your knowledge in up to 3 languages. I think that was one of the tips I was taught. And also personal projects. I think those are huge. They are basically ways to show colleges what you have done with code. So, for example, this was the project that I did. Is basically to dive in a little deeper. There are people who want to invest in municipal bond data, and what that basically is the a bond is basically something where the government, for example, basically says, okay, I'm going to owe you a certain amount of money if you give me this money right now, and people who buy that bond will then start expecting a return investment. The problem is sometimes these bonds fail, and this depends on a variety of statistics. And this is what the website is trying to show. It's basically saying like, oh, given in this county, for example, the bonds that for that county, whether there's severe housing problems that might jeopardize the bond having a good return value, or something along those lines. So again, personal projects are pretty core. I guess on the side of learning too, of course, there are a lot of online resources, Big Coding Club being one of them. And so basically, these are just good opportunities to like learn more. Of course, so yeah, I'm pretty
How
sure.
about AP? How about AP?
Oh,
computer?
AP side, yeah, okay. So again, APCS is basically a requirement. If you want to go into the computer science major, it basically allows you to get a jump start on your college coursework. And because for me, I took the APCS course, and taking that course, I took the test. And after I took that test, I did not realize this, but what that basically allowed me was it allowed me to skip a level of computer science in college. So basically, I have a head start on compared to the people who did not take the APCS course. So they're now taking something called Computer Science 121, while I'm taking 186 Data Structures, which is a more advanced class. So I think, again, APCS is a definite requirement. Other than that, other APs should be just, I think they're just like a good way to earn credits for college. Any specific APs other than APCS, on the other hand, I think those are just for basically satisfying general education requirements. So honestly, up to the student and what classes he likes, what subjects he wants to study, and then he would take the AP corresponding AP test for that.
Okay, so normally how old or which grade you think they should prepare for AP test?
To be honest here, I took the AP test in 11th grade. To start preparing for the AP test, the thing is, my school offered me a course in which they basically covered all of the topics for the AP test. It was basically APCS test preparation class.
Mm-hmm.
If that is available to the student, they can just take it whenever they want during the 4 years of high school. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't reflect on the college, whether you took the APCS in 9th or 12th grade. As long as you take the test, that it's fine. However, if you don't have that option and the school does not offer basically an APCS class, I would recommend to be just reading. Yes, APCS, Hand, I see that question. APCS is only for Java. It only tests the language of Java. So my course, again, JavaScript and Java are two different languages. So my course will not be preparing for you to not be preparing for you to take the APCS test.
Yes, we have Java class too. Yeah, we have, yeah, of course, we have that AP computer test courses in the coding club too. I would like to say, yeah, some of the kids take their examinations at the ninth grade. So yeah, some of them are really prepared for 10 something. Yeah. Yeah. So since, yeah, I believe every high school have this kind of class. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So yeah, on estimation, I would say that it takes at least a couple months to prepare for the test, but it's not necessary, as I said before, for you to take it as early as possible. It doesn't matter if you take APCS in the test in 12th grade or 9th grade. The only concern you should have is if you're underprepared and you want to take it again next year to score a better score, then you would probably want to take it on an earlier year, so you actually have a chance to retake it next year. But other than that, though, again, it's really up to the student and their discretion. But just make sure to take the APCS test during the course of high school.
So another question is, do you think Python could be easier than the Java, or do you think if they learn some of Python before they take the AP program, do you think it's helpful?
If they have experience in any programming language, it will definitely help them on the test. However, if they do not understand the Java syntax in the first place, then there is basically you won't make very much headway. You need to learn basically Java and its syntax and basically what methods it has to offer, because if you don't have those, you won't be able to basically even complete the test, in my opinion.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, we go too far from today's topic, but I think I just want other parents to learn some of the computer science majors preparations about that. Yeah, but I know nowadays the Python was really widely used. So and you can Google online. If you Google online, what kind of the computer language is the wild used in 2020, that would be JavaScript. So can you tell us why?
So again, every single web page is requiring basically, it needs JavaScript to run, because if you have a pure HTML and CSS page, it will basically feel very like robust. It will like have like an interactive movement. Like for example, if I go to like Microsoft's page right now, I hope I'm still screen sharing, am I?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So yeah, so you see how like if I scroll down, we have like certain images, buttons everywhere. JavaScript basically allows websites to look like this. It has like allows you to move elements from left to right. As you guys can see, the page just changed there. That's just JavaScript in the back working its magic. And websites are everywhere. It's one of the most commonly, it's one of the biggest technologies in Internet of Things. It's basically, people can go to a website to basically watch a YouTube video, to look up some math information, to read about some coding problems, that sort of thing. So I think that's why JavaScript has become so big. Oh, one more thing too. There's two sides of JavaScript. One is the front end, which is basically everything that you're seeing on your end. And then the back end, which is basically where a server, maybe I'm getting a little bit too deep in here, but when I had to write this application, I had to write the JavaScript for what the end user would see. Then I also had to write code to basically return a certain page. So for example, if I go to OpenExit right now, the server that I wrote in JavaScript knows that I'm only querying this website. So it will return this page. However, if I want to look up the statistics for the county of Aluttra in Florida, you see the URL changes. I had to write the code to basically check to see, you see at the very top, the URL, it says reports/strategic plan with a parameter search res equals a long binary string. This is basically code that I had to write. So to make sure that from the server, it knows that when my computer sends a request to the server, it interprets the URL to its corresponding resources. So this page right now would only return data for the county of Aluttra in Florida.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. So I noticed there are at the same time the occupation, the job needs for JavaScript engineer is really, really high. Yeah, so I hope everybody could learn something from this presentation classes for today. And the last minute, I would say if anyone has any last question for today, and for this course or for the other things you want to learn from Laurent, and give the last chance for answer the questions. Anyone has question about our courses and other courses too?
Well, I have a question.
Okay.
So, are you guys gonna post the homeworks through email or something?
I believe, I think that's the way I structured it right now. Yes, I will be posting.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, all right. Any other questions?
Question.
Okay, go ahead.
We know our emails.
We don't know your email.
Do we?
We haven't know your email. If you want to contact with us, you can, I can tap the email here, info@BayCoding Club.
Okay, cool.
And info@BayCodingClub.com.
Okay, awesome. If there are no further questions, I just want to thank everyone for coming today. I hope to meet you on a more personal basis on the next class, if you guys decide. And again, if you guys choose not to take this course, that's completely fine. But I'm always a resource for you guys to reach out. I'm always willing to answer like any coding questions or like tips that you guys need. So yeah, I might as well just post my email in the chat as well.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, feel free to contact.
Wait, I have one more question. Will you give the recording to us?
You mean today's recording or other courses recording?
All the recordings.
All the recordings?
Yeah, the course recording. Yeah. Normally, when you just absence, we'll just give you the recording of the courses. Every course we will record, and we keep recording an archive in case you guys need it. Okay.
But if you were not absent, will you still give it to us?
If you need, you ask for email request, and then you will get.
Well, I guess you have to explicitly request it. So we won't have like a central like website where you can view all the recordings. Yeah. But you have to. But if you request it, we'll give it to you guys.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. If you haven't registered online, you just click the link that I sent just now about this course, and you can register.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, Henry, you have something to say?
Okay, Henry, you have a question? Do you have to register for this? Yeah, you have to register for this course because this is a demo class. And for formal class, it's going to be different Zoom ID and different time. It's not the time like this. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
I have already sent the link. You can see the link.
The very top. Yep.
Yeah, you should have registered. Ask your parents to get registered. I send you the link again, and then you can click that to register. Okay.
Yeah,
Any other question?
Yeah, I have a question. Do you have a size limitation, like how many students?
Normally we keep small size, like 8 people in one class. If there is 2 more, we're okay. But if there's more than that, and then we'll separate to different classes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All
All
right.
right.
Any questions?
All right.
Okay.
for
Thank
everyone.
you, Lauren. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay.
right.
Thank you all for coming for today.
Yeah, thank you,
And we
everyone.
hope to see you in class. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have other courses like Minecraft, Code with Minecraft, Code with Roblox, and some other courses like Java and Python and Java AP and Yosaka for your competition. Yeah, so you can log on our website and to check it out, okay? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye, everyone.
Minecraft, yeah, we do have Code of Minecraft. We do have a Minecraft club too. Minecraft club meet with the coach every week, 1.5 hours online. Yeah, they have project and they have a lot of competitions inside of the club. You can register online. It's only $10 per time. It's very cheap. Okay. All right. Thank you guys.
All right, thank you,
Thank you for
everyone.
coming.